Welcome to Teddi Talks, the podcast where we have open, revealing conversations about being female, being healthy, wealthy, and wise throughout generations. I'm your host, Teddi-Jann Covell.
And I'm your co-host, Nikki LaRochelle.
In each episode, you will get to hear real stories that shaped us. We will be vulnerable and honest. It's girl talk, talking about things that few women talk about but want to know. You will learn, laugh, cry, and maybe even get angry. But Nikki and I have your back. We support you.
Yes, we do.
This is a place for support and enlightenment, and our mission is that you will find your own positive voice throughout our stories. Sit back, relax, join us on this incredible journey of growth, resilience, and empowerment. Hello, beautiful gems. I'm Teddi-Jann Covell, a social marketer, artist, and businesswoman. And my co-host, Nikki Lynn, is not with us today. She is a registered nurse, artist, and founder and CEO of Arnell Wellness Lounge in Bangor. And I am here delightfully interviewing our first guest of the episode 1 Teddi Talks podcast, Patricia Schimpf.
Schimpf, yes.
Schimpf. It has an F on the end.
It's German. It means to yell or scold.
I'll try not to
yell. To schimpfen.
Thank you for that explanation. And Miss Tricia is Miss America Strong 2021, a former lobster-woman on Little Cranberry Island, and presently she is a businesswoman as well, a photographer, and she owns IEYE Tide Images. Tide Images, and it's in Lincoln.
That's where I live now. Yes.
Okay.
In Lincoln.
And you recently got a license for.
I just became a licensed drone pilot.
Wow.
So you have to go. It's everything that flies is regulated by the FAA. So I had to go.
I'm familiar with that.
Yes, I had to go to the Augusta airport to take my test. So now I just actually got the actual physical license that looks like a driver's license. It doesn't have a picture of you on it, but it's an actual physical card license. Yeah.
Yes. So you know all about the places you cannot fly your drone.
I do. Yes. The drone actually tells you. It
they
launch.
have it programmed.
Yeah. So you need to go get FAA approval. Like you can get waivers to fly for certain reasons in different areas.
Yes.
But yeah, the drone will literally tell me you cannot launch.
Wow, that is interesting. I'm glad they programmed that into the software now.
It's helpful. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what we were talking about the last episode, we're going to continue with this episode with Tricia, and being a lobster woman and transitioning from that stereotypical male-dominated job in the state of Maine. I know there are other women because I've painted them on down east that own their own boats and fish, and also the wives of some of the fishermen help their husbands too. But we're transitioning because Tricia worked 11 years in this male-dominated field and then had the confidence and courage to compete for a traditionally a woman type position, being Miss Maine. So we spoke about how your confidence level was there fishing. You're going to prove it no matter what, even though you had your menstrual cycle going on, and men don't have any idea what that is like. To overcome that and then feel some pressure in a negative way, in a positive way too, to try something new. And what the pageant that you entered, explain what that is. Miss America Strong.
So there's many different pageant organizations. They have different owners. They have different requirements, different classes as far as like awards you can get. Some have a talent portion. This one did not. So Miss Maine for America Strong was my official title in 2021.
And that Miss Maine America Strong, what does that highlight? Is it like Miss America pageant? I know stresses scholarship, and that's the prize. You win scholarships.
Yeah, they didn't really have a philanthropic purpose necessarily. There was like the prize packages, of course.
Which was what?
That you won when you were Miss Maine, or at the state level, I should say.
Right.
There was a lot of local sponsors that donated services or goods, T-shirts or...
So you didn't get a cash prize?
No.
Okay.
I spent a lot of money. Pageantry is very expensive.
So you, out of your
Yes.
either personal
I had to do a lot of
finances
fundraising.
and fundraising.
So one of the things that was very cool about the experience of being Miss Maine, having had no, any kind of prior expectations or experience or knowledge of what went into them, and then if you won, then what was required of you. So I had to sign a contract that day. So they put the crown on my head.
Oh,
the
when you
sash
won,
on.
yes.
Yeah, so they you are under contract, and you are expected to adhere to their standards of behavior, social media, in public, and especially if you were making an appearance, quote unquote, at an event or something, and you had your crown and your sash on, there were things you were and weren't allowed, to do or say. They didn't want you having any alcohol, in your hands while you have your crown and your sash on. There was different, different standards that they required.
Back up a tiny bit. I'm sure everybody really wants to know about the competition, about the actual pageant. You were after you fundraised, you got a sponsorship from, was it the Little Cranberry Island
Yeah,
Co-op?
so actually from the co-op where we sold our
co-op.
lobsters. Yep. And my captain at the time, who was a friend of mine, had his own, LLC for his business. So he was a sponsor.
Great.
And there was multiple, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of support that I received I didn't know anyone cared so much or would pay so much attention because it had never been something that was on my radar. So the response that I got and how everyone reacted, the reactions that I got, I was asked to do all kinds of interviews, and I was in Maine Women magazine, and I was still fishing offshore.
And so this is while you're in the competition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the competition was in April. So
Okay.
we had a pretty relaxed schedule. That's like before it's kind of an in-between season. So we were still fishing, but not full time at that time.
Right. So you applied or took out the paperwork to be in the pageant.
And you have to pay a fee.
Yes.
You have to pay a fee to even be. So you're technically buying your state, I was Miss Hancock County.
Okay.
So I technically, quote unquote, bought that just by, you get that just by entering that title.
So there was no competition beforehand?
No, but you have to, I think it was like $700.
Because I think on the coast, I know there's Miss Potato Blossom that they do have a little competition.
There's a lot of,
There's Miss
Blueberry Lobster Festival.
in Rockland,
Yep.
they have that. And do those people go into like Miss Maine, or those are just separate?
I think that those are just kind of more only ever go to the state level instead of going, like the Miss Blueberry Queen, I don't think goes to a national, there's not like a national.
No, what I mean
pageant.
is, do those little titles compete for Miss Maine?
Oh, no. So it's
okay.
only within, I couldn't compete in this pageant organization again I was a Miss. So I
Right.
could compete in this same organization again as a Mrs., but you can't compete for the same title within the same organization.
Because what I looked up when I looked up Miss America Strong, you have to be single, but you can be divorced.
You can be divorced, yeah.
And it's said that it focuses on women's careers and lives.
Yeah, that's what you choose to do with everyone has to have a platform.
Oh,
So my
okay.
platform was I assist and instruct women's self-defense also.
Okay.
And so my platform was women's self-defense and advocacy for women working in male-dominated industries. So like we said in the first episode, if you get sexually harassed or, someone does something to you, you get fired for, having your period or something like that. There's nobody for you to complain to. There's no one
As a lobster woman.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
There's no one to hold those captains accountable to how they're treating you or how you're being treated.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was a union president for a while at Bangor Tower, and our organization did help women to file suits.
Yeah.
Not really a suit, but claims, you might say. And then also I had to file on my supervisor.
Yeah.
And what happens is, as we all know, you do that and you are retaliated
Exactly.
against. And
Yeah.
it is illegal to retaliate, but people
But to
find
actually
their
get
way.
consequences,
Take
action and get consequences.
Hardly
is
anything.
not gonna
3
happen.
days. We used to call it 3 days on the beach. This person got 3 days, and then they promoted him. So
I bet you didn't get promoted, though, did you?
No, I did
No,
not.
exactly.
Funny how that happens, because I applied,
Right.
but no, never
Right.
got promoted.
You're not going to get the same credit as a male counterpart.
Correct.
Yeah.
Especially after. And when they investigated, they said, like, okay, he's guilty. What do you want us to do about it? They were asking me,
You guys are supposed
like, how about
to
fire
figure
him?
that out. Yeah. Boys club.
But did
Being
not
a girl
happen.
in the boys club. Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you started teaching self-defense? You took a class.
So I've actually trained in, not pretty casually, but years ago had trained in boxing.
Oh, wow.
And then I trained with state troopers, actually Maine state troopers, the state trooper who was the instructor for this group called Citizens Protection Group at the time. It hasn't been a thing for years now because he actually got promoted to be the Major Crimes Unit forensic detective.
Oh, wow.
So he's a big deal. So he
In the state of Maine.
Yeah. So he years before that was teaching Citizens Protection Group, which was basically this group that teaches, just regular citizens how to protect themselves, how to protect a third party, different laws surrounding self-defense, situational awareness. So when you go into a place, kind of check things out and have a plan of what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What would you do?
The power of observation.
Exactly. And the awareness and body language, how you carry yourself when you're out in public, when you're getting in and out of your car, when you're getting gas, or in your own front yard. What could someone use against you to break into your house?
I just going to ask
Layered
you,
defenses.
Where was this protection group?
He was from Ellsworth.
So do you think every town has this? I mean, I'm thinking
No,
for
I don't think so.
people who might want to
I
take
think
this
it's
class.
an excellent resource, especially
Citizens Protection Group.
Yep, and he did it himself. It wasn't like it wasn't through the Maine State.
And it wasn't through
Troopers.
Ellsworth PD.
It was him. He had created this group and organized this group himself, because he sees all the awful things that happen. And in hindsight, you can see how something may have been avoided or prevented.
Oh,
but you need that information before it happens.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's too late. So I have had to use many of those skills and many of those trainings to avoid being, my goal is to be the wrong girl, right? You don't want to be the right target.
Correct.
You want to be the wrong girl.
Right.
So that's my goal, is to be the wrong girl. And just a little bit of Like, oh, well, I never thought of it this way before. When you're going out to your car and in a dark parking lot, where did you park? You might not think about that when you go to park and it's still light out. But when you go out at night, you've been in whatever building for hours and you go out and it's dark out, then you've got to get back to your car. So there's many, many situations that, and like the men in your life, if you're a female, and you probably know what I'm talking about, you've probably been scared, you've probably been, harassed to a certain extent. You've had to deal with someone trying to turn you into a victim. And just a little bit of training can go a long way into they're either, not that you want them to pick someone else, but you don't want them to pick you. So,
and that has
be
to
the
do
wrong
with
girl.
Confidence right there. I mean, I guess being an artist, and Nikki's an artist too, we see the world differently and do observations. And I just got to throw in this one teeny story is that I was part of Tuesday Forum for a while. They still have the group here in Bangor.
Yeah, I'm part of the group.
Yeah,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
So we used to meet at Sea Dog restaurant, and every week, and there's a table out, and people would pay or whatever to go in to have lunch because we met at lunch for Tuesday Forum listeners. So I spoke one day. I was this guest speaker, and I asked the entire group. There was probably 50 people in that group. Can you tell me what was on the wall behind the person taking our meal tickets? And it's the same setup every single week.
Time. Yep.
Not one woman in that could tell me, okay, it was a painting of the ocean. I mean, it was a giant painting. It wasn't something small. It was this big painting that you could not really miss. Every single day you walk in. And that's part of the power of observation. Right. Be aware of what's around you.
Yeah, I mean, you're going out to run errands, you're juggling 10 different things, you're trying
have
to text
kids,
someone,
maybe.
You're trying to, got a lot going on. Your brain isn't thinking defensively. And explaining this to male friends that are like, oh, I've never had to worry about that. When I leave the house, I just grab what I need and I leave the house. I don't have this like strategy of what if that will literally keep me alive. Could literally keep you alive, save your life if you just
park
think
under
about
a
these
light.
things. Yeah.
Park close to other cars that are close to the door, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And there were so many things.
So many things.
Yeah.
So that was so to digress back, that was my platform for the Miss Maine pageant, was women's self-defense and advocacy for
that's incredible there.
For people that have experienced sexual harassment or whatever. There was one instance I can remember out on the boat. Well, multiple instances that happened out on the boat, but one in particular that wasn't even the captain that I was working for at the time. One of the harbors I fished out of was the first time fishing out of that harbor. I knew a lot of those guys just by reputation that fished out of that harbor. And we were out on the boat one day, and typically the crew, I worked on the stern, typically the crew don't touch the radio, the VHF radio. They're talking to each other. So usually you just hear the captains. And so the captains came on. I was on the back doing my job. I'm there to work.
Yes.
And I hear on the radio, because there was another girl fishing on another boat that happened to be from Hancock, from my hometown. She was older than me, but we had gone to grammar school together years before. And then she started working for another guy out of that same harbor. And so these men are talking about us over the radio for everyone to hear that's on that channel, going, man, these girls from Hancock, oh, they're attractive. They can work hard. Oh, we're so impressed. Wonder if they'd have a bikini contest for us.
Oh, wow.
And I found that quite irritating. So I went from the back of the boat to the front of the boat in about a second and a half, and I grabbed the radio, and I said, I've got an idea, guys. Why don't you have a bikini contest, and I'll be the judge?
Yeah, perfect.
There was not a whole lot of chatter after that.
Good.
I'm guessing they went back to work. So things like that. Guys don't have,
incredible.
it's just like, a guy doesn't actually have to worry. Yes, abuse happens. two men. But
Not the same
typically,
way.
you don't fear for your life in the same way, or
Okay.
your safety in
or
the
your
same way.
job.
Exactly, in the same way. So when it came to competing in a pageant, I was not necessarily worried about failing or about not winning. I just wanted it to be a positive experience. And one thing that I found was that something that people assume about pageants, that it's, very catty, that there's lots of, which I'm sure there are, but I did not experience this in Maine, in my, group of ladies that I competed with. It didn't feel like we were competing against each other. It felt like we were there, like the girls in the Miss category. I think there was only one that had competed in a pageant before. So it was the first time for most of the rest of us. And nobody knew really what to do, what to expect. So we all were like, oh, your tag's sticking out, or your bra strap, or,
Right.
Do you need to borrow this, or do you need to borrow that? Everyone was very helpful.
Wow, that's great. That is
very complimentary, very supportive. That was a really fun thing. It was the pageant politics that made it a negative experience, not the actual ladies involved.
So you knew you had to have a platform. That means that you were going to speak on this
Yes.
issue.
Yep.
They had like a speaking section. Walk us through all the different parts of
the pageant itself. Yeah, there was an opening number, which was a dance, and then each person got a quick introduction of your name, where you're from, like a quick little fact
Bio.
about you,
Yeah.
and then, like 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then what your platform was. And then it went into the different categories that you could win were, there was evening gown, there was interview. So we all had to do interviews with judges separately before the pageant even started. So before the pageant even, the actual show started, we had already been interviewed and scored on the interview section, the interview portion. And that counted for, I think, 50% of your overall score. So typically the person that wins, that has the highest score in the interview is going to win the whole pageant, because that counts for.
So
I did not happen to win the interview. So I was an anomaly in that way. So you get an award for interview, you get an award for you get judged on interview. You get an award for evening gown. There was, of course, the swimsuit portion is typically the most popular, because everyone wants to see a girl on a stage in heels. That hasn't changed. And there was no talent portion in this. Then you could win the crown itself. So I actually ended up winning four categories. So I won, and they had ones that the judges could vote on that weren't category so I won most inspirational woman.
Okay.
I won most photogenic, and that was a category that they had people judge beforehand too, just based on your headshots.
Oh.
So then I won evening gown.
Okay. And that was the live competition.
Yep.
Then.
So then I won evening gown. Yeah, you're actually up on stage in your
that
evening
night.
gown. And then I
at the
won
pageant.
the swimsuit and fitness category too. And then the crown itself.
Wow.
So they just kept, 'cause for someone that had no expectations, I almost was like, why don't I make a joke of this and go up there with my fishing boots on? And I'm glad I didn't, but that was how I was not taking it seriously, in my head, as far as my intention was not to win, quote unquote. It was just to participate.
Did you search for months to find the right suit or the right dress?
I didn't have even time. So when my friend Tosh and I had that brunch, and she was like, I was like, all right, well, why not? And then I had about 6 weeks to get ready.
Can I ask how much you had to, for your submission to be in it, how much
that
you
was
had to the sponsor?
$700.
Yeah, okay.
That I just to
be in
participate.
it.
Yeah. And then there's dresses, there's makeup, there's headshots, there's so many things. So if you don't get people to sponsor you, you are paying for it yourself. Yeah.
So you didn't search for a long time to see what dress would look great on you?
The pageant was in April, and I decided to do it the end of February, beginning of March. So there weren't a lot of bathing suits out on shelves anywhere at that time. I actually ended up getting my bathing suit at Walmart the day before I went to Portland for the competition.
Oh my gosh.
Like the day before. And this was still...
So you just bought one suit. This is it?
Oh, I bought a bunch of suits because the dressing room, this was still during COVID restrictions.
Right.
So none of the fitting rooms were open. So I was just like, all right. So I went and bought like 2 sizes in every color.
Oh, wow.
It had to be a solid color too.
Okay.
It was required to be a solid color. Yeah.
And it could be a bikini.
Yeah. You could pick. It could be 1 or 2 piece.
Okay.
But I'd worked out hard for 6 weeks before that, so I was definitely wearing a bikini.
Oh, where did you work out?
I had some really good friends who owned a health spa like boutique in Bar Harbor called Destination Health. That's been sold since then.
Okay.
But it was a beautiful facility, and I got they had a lot of classes, spin classes. I had some personal training type stuff done, but they had a lot to offer.
Oh, wow.
As far as a very well-rounded. So like lobstering, yes, you get paid to work out basically, but it's a very you're doing the same thing all the time. It's not a very well-rounded workout. So there's kind of a cliche, yeah. So there's a cliche. It's a lot of upper body. So I didn't need help with the upper body. Dear God. But there's a lot of if you've ever heard anyone accuse fishermen of having chicken legs.
Yeah.
It's because they have a huge upper body and their legs don't get. You have to have strong legs to have your sea legs, but you're not doing squats and stuff, you know. Right. So I did want to give myself a more well-rounded physique.
Yes. Wow, that's
pun intended.
And what about your dress? I mean, you got to describe
So the
your
dress I found, Tosh had sent me a dress that was beautiful. It was gold, like a gold bodice. Is that what it's called?
Bodice?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
See, this is still learning things. And a white skirt and a white train, but it was way too much dress. So I found one that was a similar color scheme, and I ordered it online and got a size too big. So then I had to exchange.
Oh, wow.
And get a smaller size, and had to go down to Portland. There was a great tailor down there that I had, because you have to have multiple outfits. You have to have a different outfit for each thing.
Wow.
Like you have to have an interview dress. You have your cocktail dress. That's the opening number. You've got your evening gown.
And do they all have to be one color?
No.
No. So
no,
it could be
pick.
flowered?
Could be, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think most people stick to more simple color schemes because they don't want the dress to take away from
their face.
From
them.
Did
you have like your colors done or anything like that? What would
like a color palette?
Yeah.
No, my dress ended up being gold and white. The evening gown ended up being gold and white. Yeah. And like when after the show was over and we all were on stage waiting, they were announcing the winners and they just kept calling my name.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what is, seriously? Okay. And because I had zero expectations. And everyone did such a great job. It was not obvious to me
that amazing.
I was going to win. Like when they called they do the crown last. They do all these other awards first and then they do the crown last.
Meaning the title.
The title and the sash, and someone actually puts a crown on your head. And so I just stood there. They called my name, and I just stood there. They almost had to call my name twice because I was just like,
huh?
I'm sorry, did you count? Okay. And then, they put a crown on my head and a sash, and then I was a public figure.
Yes.
After that.
And you... wrote red roses too and all that stuff.
Oh, the flowers and the whole. I could never bring myself to do the wave. I just couldn't. No. Like the cup.
But you know how to do it.
I could. You're either getting a peace sign or one finger from me. That's up to you. Like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. But I wasn't trying to be something I wasn't at any point.
So you didn't feel nervous going on stage?
Not really. I've done direct sales in the past, so I've done a lot of. I had quite a big team network under me at one point in this particular company. So I had done a lot of trainings. I've done public speaking. I've done multiple things.
Wow, that's great.
Over the years. So I'm pretty comfortable with, I think the biggest crowd I've spoken in front of was like 1,000 people. So you just go with it. You just kind of go with it. And what's the worst that can happen? You're not going to actually die up there.
No.
So, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
That's great. That is really...
All right, ladies, can I inject really quick? we're getting close to the 30
30 minutes?
marker.
Okay.
And also, we probably should wrap up by kind of. I have some questions, but I'm going to have you ask the question.
Okay.
The question is, what did you learn from the pageant?
Yeah.
Being in the pageant,
Right.
And what was life like after you were crowned?
Right.
What type of impact did you have with the crown on? And then just do a wrap up after that.
Okay.
If we can just.
Okay.
Are you okay with those 2 questions?
Yeah. What did you learn, and what was your life like afterwards? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hold on. Okay, we're rolling.
Okay.
And Trish, so what was your big takeaway from being in the pageant? What did you learn?
My big takeaway was that you never know. You have to seize something. Maybe it doesn't look like an opportunity or feel like an opportunity or something that you've ever intended, a path you've ever intended to go down, but it will lead you to the most incredible things, experiences that you never thought you would ever have. And one of the things that surprised me the most was the reaction of my community and how excited everyone was for me and how they just embraced me and were so supportive. I mean, we had events like that we created just so that my community could
Meet you?
be a part of it.
Good.
Because it wasn't fun if it's just like, oh, this is all about me. No. It was not all about me. It was
Right.
all about me, my community, the people that had supported me to get there, everyone who commented on my posts. So my big takeaway was that you will be so surprised by the people that are going to support you, people you don't even know. But I also was surprised by the people that weren't supportive. So that can be difficult also, is people, whether they're insecure, whether they're resentful, whatever the reason, jealous, whatever the reason is, that was sometimes was hard to be like, oh, well, I thought this person, was my friend and cared about me. And here I've heard from this person, I don't even know this person. And, they've commented on everything. They've showed up. They've done all it's so
sometimes that happens.
It
Your
was very
friends are
interesting.
jealous.
It was very interesting to see how that unfolded.
The purpose for you for winning the title was for your
just to see
prove it.
Like I said, I didn't think I was going to win. I just was doing it for the experience of I competed in a pageant. I had zero expectations of actually winning. And
so you learned you could win.
I learned that I could. Yeah, I could actually act like a girl. So my tagline, because like I said, I did multiple interviews and did things, became From Grundens to Glamour. Ended up being my kind of tagline. And I went back to fishing after that. Went back from Glamour to Grundens. But the end of that year, 2021, so I was Miss Maine from April 2021 to April 2022.
Okay.
So I quit fishing in October of 2021 and moved away from the island, Mount Desert Island, and moved to Lincoln. And I was still Miss Maine while I did that.
And your responsibilities, I mean, they set up a schedule for you to...
Oh, yeah. There was appearances, there was events, and it was all based in southern Maine. So I did a lot of driving.
Okay.
But what I ended up doing was I made up a lot of events because like I said, I had to do fundraising. So I created events with my local businesses that were my sponsors.
Okay.
And made it about my community and brought my community into it so that they could come and they could meet me. And I had raffle items and I had multiple events. Actually, one that I had in my hometown for 2 years straight has now been taken over by the Hancock Recreation Committee, and it's now going to be an annual event.
And what is that?
It's a little bit different than when I did it. I had mine in October. They're having theirs actually, I think this weekend. It's Hancock Days. So every town used to have, its own little Machias Days or whatever that a lot of them don't have anymore. And Hancock Days was one of them.
Oh wow!
And so I wanted to bring that back, and I actually had the event in the town triangle.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The first year, and involved the fire department. And had it be like a fundraiser, for them too. And then the second year, the weather was too cold, so we had it up at the grammar school, the Hancock Grammar School.
Oh, neat.
And still included the fire department and stuff. So now they're going to do it they've taken it over because I don't even live in Hancock anymore.
Right.
So they've taken it over, and it's a whole committee that's doing this. It's a carnival now. But live
amazing.
music, I had live music and vendors and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
It
it
was a lot
sounds
of
like
fun.
you're like a party planner too.
Add it to my resume.
I mean, but how did you transition into photography? Because that's the one piece that's kind
We
of.
haven't touched on that. Yeah, so I have always loved photography. And the first time I ever really experimented with photography, and my mom, God love her, let me take her Nikon film camera
Oh, wow.
up to so I grew up in Hancock, right on the corner of the road where the grammar school is. And the fire department is right there. So those things are very, very, I wasn't not going to be Miss Maine and have those things be a part of my events. But behind the grammar school is a cemetery. So I took my mom's camera up to the cemetery, and I still have some of the pictures that I developed from that first roll of film where I was up there I didn't know what any of the settings were. I had no idea what I was doing. I wouldn't have let my kid bring with my Nikon camera by herself. But anyway, I kind of started then of like, oh, I can create art this way, and I can turn what I'm looking at. I can see what I want the photo to be and share that with other people. So fast forward to when I was lobstering, I just see the most amazing things.
Oh my gosh.
Incredible
yes.
views. The sunrises, because you see a lot more sunrises than sunsets when you're a fisherman.
Right.
And the cool creatures that would come up in the traps. Things that you'll never ever see again. Like so many cool things. And you have to be out on a boat at all times, all weather, all times of year to see, to get the opportunity
Exactly.
to see
The first time I ever saw a puffin was because Kenneth, we went 25 miles off the coast.
Wow. Yeah.
And we went to Machias Seal Island. And there's, whoa, you talk
it's
about
incredible.
like, what the heck?
Yeah. It doesn't look real.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't have a camera, but
Well, I used my phone because I have a really nice camera, but I
we
wasn't going to
didn't
bring
have
that
those
offshore
back
with
then.
me. Well, exactly. Yeah. So I came along at the right time, but I would just have my phone in my pocket and, depending on what was on my glove, pull my glove off and take the picture. And I would use my nose sometimes.
Because your hands are so yicky.
Yeah. And I just ended up with an incredible portfolio. Such a unique portfolio.
Yeah.
And because I had to make it so that me taking these photos and getting these photos didn't interfere with the workflow.
All right. Yes.
Because not many
correct.
captains are going to tolerate that.
Correct.
But once, a captain, because I took photos on every boat that I worked on.
Nice.
And so once they would see, the photos that I would come up with, we'd get off the boat and I'd get home and I'd do a little editing and I'd send them to them. They'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Turn that into this. This is incredible. So they were pretty tolerant.
And
of
they used them probably.
Yeah.
Did you allow them for advertising? I don't know if they advertise much or social media for lobstermen.
I use them for that's where my photography business was kind of born
That is
out of that. So I
amazing.
started, I would send pictures to people and then people loved them so much that I started
They want to
posting them
buy
on
'em.
Facebook.
Right.
And then from that, it turned into, hope maybe I could actually
Make
turn
a
this into a
living.
business.
And you have.
And I did. I'm working on it. So
Yeah.
I couldn't really focus on building a photography business until I was done lobstering. So that was one of my big reasons just to decide to get done when I got done. So when I became Miss Maine, I was like, oh, hey, here's an opportunity to launch my business because I'm getting a lot of publicity.
Correct. Your
And-
brand.
And
as
yeah,
they say.
so hey, why don't I, pair this with launching my photography business? And started to sell. I've started off with just selling prints. So I get pictures that I take printed on aluminum, and they're just beautiful. They're vibrant. Like the aluminum
Right.
is like glossy and shiny, and it's just very vibrant. So it's a very unique product.
Yes.
And so since now I'm not lobstering anymore, I could actually focus on offering photography services to people. And I joined, you mentioned Tuesday Forum. I joined Tuesday Forum. That's a women's business networking group.
Here in Bangor.
Yep, here in Bangor, just to get the word out. It's a fantastic resource for business connections and referrals. I've done headshots and a few different things for some of the ladies in that group already. And going to events like the chamber events where I met you,
Yes.
it's just a great opportunity to continue to get the word out there. And
Networking, I
Yeah.
think this may be a sexist comment, but I think women are excellent
We're
at
very
networking.
good at it. Yes.
So why don't we, that's going to wrap it up. I deeply appreciate you, Trish, for driving all the way down from Lincoln. And
Lincoln's about an hour away from anywhere.
yeah. Isn't
I did
there
it to myself.
like Grand Lake Stream Days or something coming up? That's
They
up
just
that
had
neck of the-
Loon Festival.
Loon Festival
actually.
at Lincoln.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's a lot of events up there. There's the Springfield Fair, which was last month, I think.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
there's stuff going on up there.
there is. And this is a time of year to head north to avoid some of the tourists in the south. But
You just trade in the deer flies for
the-
people.
yeah,
which
okay, right.
It's fine with me. I'm fine with that.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Suban. And
Thank you so much for having me.
please subscribe to Teddy Talks. And we will see you next, all the listeners and viewers next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please follow us on YouTube, Teddy Talks.
Don't forget to subscribe. You can also find Teddi-Jann at msha.ke/Teddi.Jann. Those are 2 N's, Jann. And if you want to follow my journey with the Wellness Lounge, you can do so at rnwellnesslounge.com and, of course, all of our social media channels. So as a disclaimer, as always, we want you to know that all episodes and personal stories are our beliefs, our opinions, and they're not to be substituted for advice from a professional provider. Stories and names sometimes might be changed to protect the other side. And remember, it's okay to take care of yourself and celebrate you no matter what age.
This is true, and we are very grateful and appreciative of Selfie Space located in Brewer, Maine.
Check them out.